My name is Leona Samuda, and I'm a PhD student in my third year here at the Open University. And my research focuses on gender equality in the legal profession in England and Wales. And specifically, I'm looking at barriers women solicitors face as they progress through their legal career. So gender equality is in the legal profession in England and Wales continues to be a largely debated topic amongst legal professionals. Despite a century-long plight of women into law, despite the numerous legislations and reforms incorporated into work practices and procedures and policies, and even despite the numerous various regulators' support throughout the years, the statistics show that the gender equality in legal profession has not yet been achieved. The statistics may paint a positive picture on the face of it, in that they show that for the first time in history, an unprecedented number of women, 51.8% exactly, occupy the entry and lower positions in the law profession. And for the third year running, women solicitors actually outnumber men solicitors. But the problem is that this 50-50 balance only appears in the lower positions. So here we are talking about law graduates, trainees, newly qualified lawyers, and lawyers with less than 10 years post-qualification experience. But the number of women in senior and leadership roles is alarmingly low. And suddenly our 50+ percentage drops down to about 33%, and in some areas even lower. And this forms the basis of my research. I was interested to discover, where are all the women? Why isn't their representation in senior positions compatible with their representation in lower positions? So for this, I decided to investigate a solicitor's branch of profession, which I thought was quite representative, as they make up majority of the entire legal force in England and Wales. I decided to interview women solicitors and categorize them into various groups to ascertain whether the size of the firm, its geographical location, the area of expertise, or even resources may have an impact on this gender equality agenda. And of course, just as I was getting ready to begin my interviews, the dreaded Covid-19 hit. And I'm sure I don't have to explain to anyone what an impact it had on all of us. But it changed my research significantly, in that I was probably one of the first people to start conduct interviews during a pandemic. And I did it online, I did it via Skype for Business. And despite all the challenges, I did manage to obtain some very good in-depth data, which gave me a great insight into women solicitors and problems that women solicitors view as barriers to their progression. And interestingly, one of the problematic areas we discussed was flexible working. So flexible working policies supported by legislation have many advantages. It allows working from home, it brings down costs for businesses, it helps the environment, and it allows the user the ability to fulfill their other duties besides work, which are sometimes, most of the time, caring duties. This concept was largely designed for those who cannot or do not have the capacity to commit to working full-time. And in the legal profession, we all know what working full-time means. This is no 9-to-5 job. And so for people who have got caring responsibilities outside of work, this then sounds like a great idea. They can't come into work from 7 in the morning until 10 in the evening. And they're able to focus on work as well as focus on their other obligations outside of work. And this is, in majority of cases, women who are carers for their children or who are carers for relatives. And so for this reason, the flexible working sounded to me like a great idea until I spoke to my participants, who have highlighted some major flaws with this concept. And so I'll try in a nutshell, because there's a lot of flaws. So in a nutshell, what I've been told by my participants. So first of all, they complained about stigma around flexible working. As it is something relatively new and unusual and perhaps modern, it goes against some of the traditional concepts of the legal profession, such as presenteeism, bums on the seat, shuffling paper in the office until late hours at night. All these terms have been used interchangeably by women who felt that they suffered a detriment due to the fact that they weren't able to spend long hours in the office. And this then led to fears of missing out on creating strong working relationships, which then leads to allocation of work, allocation of projects, exciting projects, which will then go onto their portfolio and support them with their promotion. Networking was also another big problem that they've experienced. In legal profession, as we know, networking and socializing is a very important part of the job. It is about networking with clients, bringing in new business, bringing in new projects into the firm. And with that, then that goes onto their portfolio again for promotion. The networking and social activities usually take place after working hours or during the weekends. And so those who work flexibly cannot commit themselves to attend those. They also discussed the fact that they felt that flexible working created us and them environment, and that led to lack of respect from colleagues and management. They often overheard patronizing comments and terminology about themselves, such as she only works part-time or she can't take on that project because she doesn't work Fridays. And this made them feel undervalued and not respected for the choices that they decided to make. That then led to questions of commitment. Are they committed enough to take on the project or take on the partnership if they don't work full time? In terms of the client, is this big client, getting the best for their money by having a solicitor who only works part time, who doesn't come in on Fridays? And there was also a talk about contentious areas of laws, meeting deadlines, court deadlines. Are they actually able to meet the court deadlines if it falls on a day that they're not in the office? Another big issue was the amount of work. The participants complained that whilst everything is pro rata, that includes pay, annual leave, the amount of work allocated is not pro rata, and that leaves them then with doing as much work as full-timers, but just having a shorter time scale to do it. And so the participants would often say that they put the children to bed and log on at 9 o'clock in the evening and work until 1 a.m. in the morning. Some of them even decided to work on their days off regularly, and obviously coming into the office on the days that they shouldn't be in the office, but not getting paid for it. Promotion was another big issue because all the participants agreed that it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to achieve partnership whilst working flexibly or on part-time basis. And that led to most of them making choices in terms of their personal lives. So they would have left having families until much later in life, or few participants have decided not to have children at all, and that was a decision based purely on the profession. Billable hours, another problem. As one of the key criteria for promotion, they felt that it was extremely unfair to be placed in a direct competition with full-timers in terms of their billable hours, and said that there's no way that they can actually fulfill that requirement if they're in competition with others. And so these are some of the problems of the flexible working prior to COVID-19. Adding to the mix now the lockdown and the shutting of nurseries and schools, for those with caring responsibilities who have already struggled, things have got much harder. Participants with younger children and toddlers, they were left having to do their work, but also having to be teachers, nursery nurses, and in some cases, teachers of 2-year groups. And they particularly struggled to adapt to this new way of working. The support of management was discussed, and whilst they were quite positive during the first stages of the first lockdown, because the management was quite supportive, as soon as everyone steadied themselves, the business started coming in, the clients steadied themselves back on their feet. It was business as usual. And they were very disappointed to find that the notion of presenteeism was not gone as they thought it probably or possibly could be. It only changed forms, and it now appeared, instead of bums on the seat, it now appeared as a green tick next to their name to make sure that they are always online. So participants here, they eventually felt even bigger pressure with the modern technology, with no traveling to and from work. They felt that they have to be available at all hours, all times. And this led to psychological effects. They all agreed that COVID and during working flexibly during COVID will have everlasting impact. But also because the participants were overworking, burning out, they were blurring the lines between working hours and non-working hours. And they felt that they weren't good enough employees for not being able to fully focus on their work during the daytime, and also not good enough parents who were not able to focus on their children during these hard times fully. And so they were constantly working and constantly worrying. So COVID-19 illuminated the structural problems of the profession and the flaws with the concept of flexible working. It added extra pressure on women who were already feeling the strain, so much so that even when offered some further flexible working arrangements, some annual leave arrangements, extra day off, they refused to take it because they knew that there would be so much work left behind that would put them under even more stress, and they would just lose themselves with it. And so just to wrap up now, we will see how the profession responds now, whether profits and benefits and clients will continue to take precedence, or whether the profession will see how difficult it is for those who are taking advantage of flexible working, and how their well-being is dealt with. Okay, thank you.